Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
I thought Kellen coming in, really that fourth down play got him going. That's what we want to see him do. I have no doubt that both these guys are going to continue to compete, but there's some critical plays in there that both those guys were able to make. And then I know there's some plays that when we watch it back, we'll be able to continue the process of coaching these guys. But ultimately, we'll take a look at what the tape ultimately says. Did we miss any ops? Did we take advantage of anything that we should have? And then ultimately, it'll be here. The Niners practices will be here before you know it.
Did we miss any ops? That's another.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he means opportunities.
Yes.
You just shorten the word opportunities there.
Opportunities.
Okay.
Opportunities are important.
Ops are knocking. Ops are knocking for the QB2 competition.
It's a very football thing. Sounds like a very football thing.
Well, let's we'll put all of our thoughts from yesterday's preseason game 1 on the table here on Purple Daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I am in enemy territory this week. I am in Chicago, Illinois. I'm downtown Chicago right now for some Hubbard Radio Company meetings, but mostly just to scout how depressed Bears fans are going into yet another rebuild. Really no skill position players of note on that team that matter.
What do you mean? Tajay Sharp looked great Saturday. Tajay Sharp was unbelievable.
Oh my
Didn't
God.
even know he was on their team.
Me neither.
He made one phenomenal catch. He's going to be their best guy.
I'm sure he did. Purple Daily is presented by our friends at TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And they make more than just TVs, folks. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances, TCL bringing you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Also, the summer of Surly is still in full swing, and we all saw you guys sending, I don't even know what concert it was. Was it last night or 2 nights ago? And
Lord Huron, I believe, was there on Friday. Lord Huron.
Okay.
Good band.
Judd's a fan of their early work. But
Yes.
people were sending in
familiar.
pictures of their Before I Die cans of beer from the stadium.
Was awesome.
Summer of Surly into concert and fall season. Very exciting, Judd.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? Before I Die, it's growing. In the summer of Surly, it's only growing because all of us are on board with that one thing, of course. Before I Die, the Vikings win a Super Bowl, but at least before you die, a new delicious flavor from our friends at Surly.
Yes. So, okay, we're going to start here. Let's have the Kellen Mond conversation here. Let's start with an email. These are Judd's preseason game notes, but I'm going to throw an email out to start the conversation from Paul Engelson via the Score North app. Isn't it amazing what practice can do to improve your game unless you listen to Judd? See, with Judd, Kellen Mond goes to practice to improve. But what we get from Judd is don't bother practicing, Mond won't improve. Thank God Kellen Mond and others don't listen to Judd, Mr. Negative, more interested in what others have to say. Isn't it amazing? Kellen Mond throws 2 touchdown passes, and Judd's boy Mannion didn't throw any. I don't know if Mannion is Judd's boy. That's
Have I
not
been
quite accurate.
stumping for Sean?
No, you have not.
Oh, okay. Thank you
but
very much.
you have been painting a very gloomy picture of Kellen
yeah.
Mond. And I have seen a lot of feedback in the Score North app, via Twitter, people ripping you for how negative you've been with your practice reports. And now that people, not that many fans actually go to practice here. So a lot of people are seeing Mond for the first time. Right. And he looked fairly decent in that preseason game. So why the gap? Why the gap? Why are you withholding all of the positivity that we've seen from Mond in the practices?
Ladies and gentlemen, beware. Beware of Sloter syndrome. The summer of Surly is good. Sloter syndrome is the worst thing that can possibly happen, and that is, you see, Score North sends me to Vikings training camp on a daily basis because in training camp, the practices might be and probably are more important than the actual games. The games are allowing things to play out a bit, but keep in mind what we've been, and I do not mean to be condescending here, but I will be. Keep in mind what we have been saying, which is you have more control over the practices than games. And so seeing things in games is absolutely fine, but seeing things in games and then dismissing what Judd Zolgad and the coaching staff think about practices is a major mistake. Now, Kellen Mond did some good things, but I also went back and charted all of his throws from that game yesterday. And the reality is this. Everything I've told you I saw in practice, for the most part, happened. First read, empty backfield, touchdown pass. Because I said, I've never said he can't make throws. I've said the decision-making when plays are extended is a problem. And so I really think what we got a very nice sampling of, in reality, the good and bad of Mond. Where I will say I have landed after what we saw yesterday is I have landed with much more of an open mind to give him a chance at QB3. Because I was thinking, practice squad guy, like you cut him and you tried to get him through. What I saw yesterday, I think justified giving him time to be QB3. But the Vikings do not have, and this is what we've been saying this entire time, and I still believe it to be true, QB2 for this season where expectations are high is not on the roster, and making Mond QB2 would be a disservice to the team and Mond, and that's the reality.
But don't you think you're calling this race prematurely? So this was the first preseason game. He's learning a new system, just like everybody else is.
Right.
And so these preseason games exist, and these joint practices like you're going to see against San Francisco, all of this stuff exists so that you can gradually soak things in, get better. The game can slow down for you. And so his next test will be the 2-day joint practice against San Francisco, and then we'll have more information then. And then you'll have another preseason game, and then he'll probably play a ton in the third preseason game. And then somewhere around that time, teams will have more serious discussions about who might be available via trade. Right. And so I feel like you have I don't disagree with your observations. I think everything you've observed is fact that, yeah, he's been a slow processor to this point. But he did a lot of good things in that game yesterday. He used his legs at times. Now, is it possible he sometimes bails on a play when there's no pressure with his legs like young quarterbacks do? Yes. But he kept some plays alive. He made some throws down the field, a couple nice touchdown passes, generally led the offense. Now, was he Kirk Cousins? No. Was he Aaron Rodgers? No. But did he do some things in that game yesterday that at least made me and a lot of other people curious? Oh, okay. Let's see here. I'm not going to shut this thing down before the joint practice in the second preseason game. I feel like you've called this race like 2 weeks ago, and just that he has no business even being out there for the next month trying to compete for the number 2 quarterback job.
I said he is.
Yes.
He's the third quarterback. You can't make him
talking about
the backup.
QB2.
He will. No. He is not QB2. You can't put him in a regular season game. He was seeing the most vanilla blitz packages possible. In a regular season game, I'm telling you, this guy. Now, if you had a team that had deconstructed itself and was trying to build back up, maybe. But when you have a team with this many components brought back to win, if you put him on the field in a regular season game, you are crazy. And I guarantee you Kevin O'Connell privately would say the same exact thing. I'm not cutting him now. I'm saying I am leaving the door open for the reality of the fact that I think he might have a chance to be the third guy. I'm also saying you can't build this thing up and go into this year saying the Vikings are going to contend for the division title. And oh, by the way, if Cousins gets hurt, we're going to put in a guy who in a regular season game against real defensive game plans would absolutely fail. No way. I'm not doing that.
But how can you say, again, with 3 weeks left and multiple preseason games and a joint practice against San Francisco, at the end of this whole thing, I think there's a good chance that you're going to be right. But you're not even letting it play out. You're just sitting here saying, oh, I've seen 2 weeks of practice, and that's enough to just say, despite the fact that he looked a lot better in that preseason game than he has looked, according to you and other people, in practice.
Yes.
So you don't need to. Okay, Mike Zimmer, you don't need to see anything else. There's no room for a second-year guy to. This is a crucial stretch where you're going to be force-fed a ton of practices and opponents now over 2 or 3 weeks. This is the time where guys start to improve. You're just putting him in the Kyle Sloter bin already, that he's just, there's no chance he has any chance to be a backup quarterback.
I just said, I am not cutting him. I think that he has a chance to be QB3 and be on the 53-man roster. So I am not, Sloter got cut. Sloter was a goner. I'm saying, based on what I saw on Sunday, I do believe that there's a better chance that he can stick now. But right now, as the Vikings sit down today to go through the film and probably more importantly, have some big picture conversations about where things are trending, good and bad. And by the way, this game lends itself to seeing a lot of things, which I really liked. Like for anyone melting down, well, they look terrible. You know what? You want that. Like they handled this game perfectly. But that being said, the big picture conversations on the quarterback position today have to continue to be what we have seen. You can see the problem is people want to dismiss training camp practices and be like, well, he proved it in the game. And the reality is that practices are as important or more important. And so if Kellen Mond continues to play well in games and develops in practices, that's a great thing. But I also don't want to put this kid in a position to potentially fail because I thought he was my QB2. So in many ways, I'm trying to protect him from himself because of development. So I was impressed by things too. I was not surprised and I was disappointed in things as well. That scramble that he made where I believe the play-by-play guy compared him to Tarkington, which was a very nice comparison, my God.
It did look a little like Fran Tarkington.
It did. Unfortunately, there are two guys by the end of that play in the back of the end zone wide open. Amir Smith-Marset in the corner of the end zone throws his hands up like, oh my God, I cannot be more open here. So the point being, you saw some good, you saw some bad, and that's all fine. I'm not cutting Mond, but let's tamp down the excitement a bit to be realistic, which is unless he absolutely, positively in practice takes off now. And in his defense too, the last thing is I'm all with the people who say, you know what? He got screwed last year. He did. He didn't get developed, which is why I'm not out. I'm not out because this is his development year. But that being said, I'm also not prepared now to say he is your backup quarterback to Kirk and it's set. So I am very much in the work in progress stage, but also the let's be completely realistic about where this kid is at stage.
So yeah, and hold on real quick. Let me throw one more thing, and then Declan, you be the tiebreaker on this because I want to clarify my point too. I think at the end of the day, if I had for whatever reason, if there was a gun to the head scenario where you have to pick a path on your backup quarterback take, there's a gun to your head, I would say, all right, in 3 weeks, I'm probably going to side with Judd on this. But I don't want to have to trade an asset for a backup quarterback if there's one to potentially be developed here in the next 3 to 4 weeks behind a durable starting quarterback. And so I would rather Kellen Mond be good enough to be your backup quarterback where you could at least feel comfortable because you say like, yeah, well, he's going to face a lot more exotic defenses, which is correct in the regular season. Well, guess what? He's also going to have Justin Jefferson to throw to and Adam Thielen. He's not out there throwing to the two best receivers on the roster. So he's going to have better weapons as well to utilize and to get the ball out quick, and they will scheme it up. So I'm saying if it's between, ideally, his development continues, he sort of has a light bulb moment here in the next couple weeks, and you feel good enough versus trading a 5th-round pick for a backup quarterback that's probably not going to play based on how durable Cousins is. The best-case scenario is in-house, but I think you're right. I think QB2 is either going to be Sean Mannion, which will be a train wreck, or it will be someone that's not on the roster. I just think you're just closing the book so early on this.
I'm not. I'm telling you where I think things stand. Closing the book would be saying he can't play.
Well, no, you're closing the book on him as QB2.
Right, because I don't. Okay. Dex, go ahead.
So are you saying, though, he has taken at least one step forward of being a guy who wasn't on the roster to being QB3? Is that basically what your assessment is after watching him yesterday, that he has moved from a guy who wasn't even going to be probably a 53 guy to now probably a lock to be a 53 guy in QB3?
Not a lock yet, but I saw enough where I would certainly continue to explore it. And I definitely changed my opinion to a degree by what I saw. Like, there was some good stuff there. Now, for those who say, I think the Pioneer Press said he absolutely shined. That's folly. He did not shine. There were a lot of bad plays, too.
What word would you use? You swap out shine for what word?
I think the Strib had a good one. Something about, solid or something. Like, he didn't star. He made some god-awful throws and some really bad plays. He also made some nice ones. I think it's very fair to just paint this as he is a work in progress with a coaching staff who can help him, which is excellent, which is great. And I'm not saying that I watched that game and said, oh my God, who cares? I do care a bit, but we easily lose sight of the fact that training camp practices mean a ton as well. And so to Phil's point, X, I am very curious, and I actually think the Vikings are going to technically face San Fran 3 times this week. Wednesday, Thursday, and then in a game. To me, the game itself might be the least important day. Like the actual practices are going to be, because they're controlled and you can create the environment exactly that you want to test guys. But yes, I definitely think that what I saw yesterday, I could see him as QB3, and going in, I think I probably said practice squad guy.
I think there's a very viable option that he still becomes QB2. If he continues to progress the way he's progressing, he gets off the field on that touchdown, and Kevin O'Connell gives him the big pat on the helmet. Like, just encouragement, dude. Like, just having some type of encouragement there for him, I thought was big. I guess if you can find a viable backup option, great. But no matter what, I think if they start someone who's not named Kirk Cousins, whether it's Kellen Mond, Sean Mannion, or throughout whatever backup quarterback you want, the Vikings season is most likely going to be screwed. Like, you're going to have a situation where things are now not going to plan. So no matter who the QB2 is to a degree, you'd have to change your entire script there.
So I actually, with that comment that Dex just made in mind, last night, while I was on my 4th flight in the last 5 days, just trying to entertain. And I was curious about what is the bar for a backup quarterback in the NFL? Because I think we sit here and we have these discussions about Mannion and Mond and what should the bar be for a backup quarterback? And I would say the bar is fairly low when you look around, and I've categorized them in 3 categories. I want to present this to you guys. Mm-hmm. The bar is fairly low, but the Vikings have not even really met the low bar since 2017. Yep. Case Keenum was the last time they really, and now he wound up exceeding the bar just because of that magical season they had. But I think the bin number 1 is there's a handful of teams that have a young quarterback with upside that ideally will be a starter at some point for that team or for another team. And so I would say Tyler Huntley with Baltimore, Gardner Minshew probably gets a starting job at some point. Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions, but he's still in this bin of, they drafted him in the 1st round, but he's a young guy with upside to maybe be a starter. And then Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, there might be another guy or 2 in there, but there's like a handful of these backup quarterbacks are sort of being groomed to eventually be starters for that team or for another team. Then there's a group of like 10 teams with a semi-competent veteran, and I don't think you'd want this guy in for 16 or 17 games because you're probably not a playoff team, but Mitch Trubisky, Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett with the Browns, Andy Dalton with the Saints, Case Keenum with the Bills, Taylor Heineke with the Commanders, Nick Foles Colts, Teddy Bridgewater Dolphins, Joe Flacco Jets, Geno Smith or Drew Lock with the Seahawks. And then there's the 3rd bin, which is everybody else. And that's a bin with Colt McCoy and C.J. Beathard and Kyle Allen and Jarrett Stidham, Brian Hoyer, and these are guys, and Sean Mannion is kind of in that bin, but near the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I think what Judd is saying is, and I agree with this, ideally you'd like a young guy with upside who can maybe be a starter at some point, but in the absence of a Malik Willis, and Kellen Mond you'd hope to put in that bin, but he's not right now. In the absence of that, it's nice to have, don't laugh, a Mitch Trubisky sitting back there.
A Joe Flacco.
Just somebody that has won games before
that
can come in, and
Flacco's
maybe
they're
not going to go 4-0 if your quarterback misses a month, but can you go 1-3 or 2-2? But what do you have to trade at this point? Am I going to have to trade a 3rd round pick for? I'm not going to get Jacoby Brissett from the Browns at this point. Well, I'm not going. Am I going to get Nick Foles from the Colts? Maybe. I mean,
Minshew got what? A 6th round pick?
It was like a 5th or a 6th round pick.
I would trade a 5th or 6th. Yes. Absolutely. But the most important question about Mond is this. What does the coaching staff think, and what does the coaching staff want to do? And the coaching staff, one, and this is a great thing, cares about quarterbacks. They care about development. 2 is, the most important thing I'm saying is this. If you have to play Mond, and Kirk, I know it's a long shot, but he could get hurt. He could get COVID again. Who knows? But if you have to play Mond, and you are going to stunt his long-term development by playing him, That's the most important thing. The way we have to think of this is, how do you cultivate a guy like Mond to become as successful as he can possibly be? And sticking him in week 4 is not it. It's not going to be. I know we all say, oh, it's fun, he can run around. And I mean, he's going to run around. And then, no. You want to develop the player. And this coaching staff, in my opinion, offensively, is going to do a really good job of making the assessment on development. So this is not saying that I think Mond is going to be a train wreck. There have been times I've seen that and talked about that. This is saying I also think there is going to be a step back internally with the Vikings to say Kellen Mond's development is going to be predicated on our decisions. And I think we can all agree that Kellen Mond's first year is a wash. It didn't help him. It hurt him probably. So there's nothing. So you can't say, well, but I mean, Mond learned in 2021. No, he didn't. He was ignored. He is now not being ignored. He's being cultivated. And what the Vikings, I think, are going to do is they're going to develop him. And the wisest way to develop him is not to stick him into a game in week 5 and hold your breath.
I will say he did hit the over on Prize Picks for yardage yesterday, so that was good for a lot of people out there. Here's how you play Prize Picks. It's very easy. You pick between 2 and 5 players and an over/under on their projections. You can win up to 10 times your entry. Prize Picks offers every major sport, so maybe you had a little over here on Will Zalatoris and a little over there on Kellen Mond. That's it. You just got to fire your caddy and then pick up a new one, and you'll be good to go. So use the promo code NORTH, and Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. It's $100 bonus cash. Promo code NORTH. PrizePicks.com. Speaking of golf, okay, we're approaching fall golf season at the Meadows of Mystic. Summer golf season is still here, but my favorite's fall golf season, Dex.
That's right. I mean, just like Will Zalatoris, what are they going to say now? Well, I'm going to say you should go to Meadows at Mystic Lake, which is still, you can savor the summer there. You can book your tee time at golfthemeadows.com, an award-winning 18-hole public golf course. They have scenic fairways, GPS-equipped carts. Old Dex tweets isn't too good with yardage, so it's really nice to know, like, hey, when I just poke a drive not too far, oh, Dex, you're only still 200 yards from the hole. Okay, I can still know what I want to do there. They have that technology built in. That's really nice for me and other golfers as well. Book your tee time now at golfthemeadows.com to learn more at the Meadows at Mystic Lake.
All right, let's get to some other Judd camp notes here. Some Judd preseason game 1 notes from the old college rule notebook.
Just quickly here, back to QB and potentially QB2. The snaps in the game, Mond 26, Mannion 25. I don't need to see Sean Mannion take another snap. I don't see the use. Like, I don't see the use. What am I preparing him for?
Yeah.
There's nothing there. Like, he is who he is. It ain't changing. I don't understand now how 25 snaps helped anybody. Other than to say, Sean, it's been a great career. You are going to do great things. You're a young man in life. You're an old man in football. But tell me if you guys think I'm crazy or I'm wrong. But do you need to see Sean Mannion take another preseason snap? Because I don't.
No. I got hosed on to write that down. He needed 15 pass attempts from Kellen Mond. Why is Sean Mannion going back in the game? It was only 14.
For the snaps.
I got hosed.
That's why.
I know.
To even up the snaps.
One more pass attempt. What the heck?
No, I know.
And by the way, Sean, I know Phil's is the resident guy who likes to shave his head. Sean, shave that head, buddy. Like, you got a huge bird's nest right here.
Looks like
there's just like a tiny
Wyatt
bit, like, just
old
buddy,
school quarterback, dude.
Shave the head. It'll be better. Just shave the head. I know you're only 30 years old, and hair loss to me is like one of the most scariest things, legitimately. But just shave the head, Sean. You don't need the little patch right there. Just a little word of advice.
Yeah,
shave the head.
I'm good. I don't need to see anymore.
I just don't need to see anymore. So, as people were freaking out and saying, "What the Vikings? This is terrible. This is terrible." One is, I loved the approach. 11 starter set, and you know what? Thumbs up, Kevin O'Connell. This gave you an opportunity to say, you know what? We are going to make sure that those 11 guys don't get hurt. And just as importantly, or close, I guess, is this. It gave you an opportunity to see the good and bad of your potential depth. And let me start with some good. The backup running backs. Nwangwu looked great, and Tyson Chandler looked fantastic. And I know it's one game, But these are the things we've talked about, right? Speed and Wangwu, since he came back from an injury that cost him a few days, I think now a week and a half ago, is clearly going to play a key role here. But what I saw and what I have seen from that group, there is some legitimate depth here that is going to create some very intriguing roster decisions, especially in the last cut down from 80 to 53. But I was impressed, and I've been impressed.
Yeah, there was, so in fairness, some of the longer runs were gaping holes created by the offensive line, which I'm sure we'll get to as well. But there was one run in particular by Ty Chandler. Yep. I should have sent it to you, Dex, for the YouTube audience. But he took a handoff, and it was like there's a little bit of pressure coming in from the left side of the offensive line as he was taking the handoff. He cuts to his right and then jump cuts back to his left and zing up the middle for, I don't know, 7 or 10 yards. You could just tell, whoa, okay, there's some jump cutting in here. Football. The guy just looked like a natural runner.
Yes.
And so
the kick return?
Yeah.
That was gorgeous.
Legit running back depth for this team. I don't think right now, if you said, hey, there's some injuries and Ty Chandler and Kene Nwangwu are going to, they're going to be the number 1, number 2 backs against the Packers in week 1, I don't think you'd panic. I don't think you would. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Dalvin Cook,
right?
Or as veteran as Alex Madison in his 3 years. But yes, they have legit running back depth. Absolutely.
And here's what excites me potentially the most about that. They look like they could both run some great Kansas City Chiefs-like plays, right? Like with that speed. I can only, it's going to seem weird, but we are going to, I think, starting in the opener against the Packers, we are actually going to start seeing plays that are the National Football League 2022. Like, we're going to see plays, and we're like, oh, Andy Reid does that, right? And so when I see those two, I think if you even get them on the field for a package of plays, the potential for surprise there is huge. So that's one good thing. 2, linebacker. Brian Asamoah looks like the real deal.
Yeah.
He looks like, and gents, that guy plays like a safety. Like, I am excited to see where this is going, but in watching him and his tackling, and I saw one on Twitter today with him, and I think it was an open field tackle looking like a safety. Asamoah, I think, could see substantial playing time fairly quickly. I think he's for real.
You've been talking about him, in practice the last few weeks, and just the number that he wears, his size, he's listed at like 225 pounds, and it was really interesting watching him against another team with just the way that you would be used to watching football, on TV. And there was one play, it was a 3rd down play, and the Raiders tried running out to the left, and he just knifed through all of the traffic, I think it was technically a no gain, may have been a slight tackle for loss. And, you're watching and you think, who was the safety that just ran up?
Right.
Was it Antoine Winfield playing slot corner? Was it Harrison Smith? And it was 225-pound, lightning fast Brian Asamoah. So you can see the vision they had in their minds when they drafted him. And I think the fact that he came in, he was basically I think he replaced Hicks, who's among the first wave of backups. So, he's going to get some run. He's going to get some playing time. And you can definitely see what they were looking at when they drafted him. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, next thing. Also good. Offensive line play. But I'm going to go to the second team. Ed Ingram, I still think, is going to start opening day. Ingram looks really good. And while there certainly were some whiffs in the Spielman era, Ed Ingram was a good pick. A 2nd-round pick. I think he starts. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did Austin Schlottman look good to you guys? Because Austin Schlottman in pass protection looked like he got it. Like, he might not be great. I'm not trying to say he's great, but I am trying to say there was an ability in pass protection that looked pretty good, and I think he might be solid. Not a star, but you don't need a star. You need a guy at center who is solid. And Schlotman, to me, looked like a guy who has the ability, and it's going to take a lot for him to beat out Bradbury, but the ability to at least be a solid center in pass protection.
Well, good news for you. The PFF grades from the first preseason game are live now.
Oh, I love this. Yes.
And so I can tell you, with data here, Austin Schlotman played 30 snaps in this game, 13 run blocking snaps, 17 pass blocking snaps, 0 pressures allowed.
Yep.
It's pretty good. In fact, the Vikings only allowed, 7 pressures as a team. One of them was on Alex Madison. The others went to Brian O'Neill, Jesse Davis, Wyatt Davis. Wyatt Davis appeared to be really struggling in pass protection against backups.
It's not going to work out too good for him. I
Rob.
suggest he gets a different career.
In fact, let's just for fun here, let's just go through the highest graded pass protectors in that game were Vidarian Lowe in his 13 snaps. Some of these are small sample size. Christian Darisaw, Blake Brandel, Ezra Cleveland, Josh Sokol, Garrett Bradbury. All of these were above a 70, so they're above average performances. Ed Ingram, and is it Timon Paris, the other tackle that's buried in the depth chart? And Kyle Hinton was okay too.
Yep.
So, not many pressures just in general allowed. Now, again, you're not facing. If you're facing the Raiders in the regular season, they're going to dial some stuff up. You're going to be facing, their best defensive players. But yeah, I mean, by and large, the offensive line looked fairly competent last night. But the one that stood out the most was probably Ingram, as you said. I mean, there's another clip going around. I think I retweeted this last night at Phil Mackey if you want to find it. The ball was snapped, and Ed Ingram's first responsibility was the interior defensive tackle to his left, and so he does his thing for about a second and a half, and then the center comes over and picks up that defensive tackle. And so then, again, this is a rookie. Ed Ingram moves to his right, and there's a defensive end battling, and I can't remember who the right tackle was at the time, but he tries to spin off the right tackle, and Ingram has now moved from one defensive lineman to the other to help with a double team. So the film does a better job of explaining it than I just did, but it was a very advanced concept for a rookie to be able to just, a second and a half here, pass him off to the center, move over here to the right tackle. I mean, there's some complicated stuff that happens throughout NFL games, and he handled a couple of those plays with the ease of a veteran. So Ed Ingram, probably the star of the offensive line, I would say, last night, just watching that game.
Patrick Jones, defensive end. He had 5 of the Vikings' 16 pressures by the PFF stat I am staring at right now. Patrick Jones had a couple plays that were questionable. He got sealed off on, I think it was a Raiders touchdown, where he basically should have been in position to make the tackle long before the guy got to the end zone and was not. But Patrick Jones, I think, has potential to be a starter at some point. Not this year, hopefully, because if he does start, that means that Smith or Hunter has gotten hurt. But the point is, there's a reason why the Vikings' previous defensive-minded staff liked him. He's got the size, athletic ability, and I think Patrick Jones is a lock to make the roster. And I think Patrick Jones and DJ Wanham give you a very, very competent backup team. I wouldn't want them to have to start immediately, but I think they both have potential to eventually start in this league.
Yeah. And here are the PFF stats on those guys from last night. So Patrick Jones led the Vikings with 4 total pressures. Technically, it was 3 hurries and 1 hit. He did not actually get home for a sack. Harrison Phillips and Armon Watts each had a couple of pressures and 1 sack each. And then T.Y. McGill had 2 pressures that were both converted into sacks. And a handful of other guys got at least 1 pressure in that game last night. But yeah, Patrick Jones flashed with the eyes, and then the statistics sort of back up his performance from last night.
Mm-hmm. Last thing, be prepared. Ladies and gentlemen, illegal contact is going to be enforced early in the season constantly, and we got a taste of it last night. And look, in the old world, Zim would be going nuts right now. My guys can't do anything. This is a bunch of crap, okay? Here's the positive spin. I'm going to give you a positive spin. Illegal contact is going to be enforced early in the season across the league. You have Thielen, Jefferson, and Osborne. All right? In Zimmer's world, this would be nothing but a pain in the ass and negative. In Kevin O'Connell's world, this can be spun into, let's use this to our advantage starting September 11th against the Packers. My point is, when you're coming from a point of being an offensive first, offensive coach team, the positive is it's going to go against you, but it's also going to go against your opponent. And this is a rule that until they probably basically decide in week 9, we're tired of this rule. This is a rule that your offense can exploit against opponents.
No. I hope they just keep it to the preseason.
Yeah.
I hope it was just a point of emphasis, and they're gonna scare some teams early here, and then. But you're probably right. They probably do it for the month of September, and then calm down.
Yes, I'm just saying.
Just what we all wanted, you know. You poll the general population of football fans and say, football's great, but what do you want more of? Penalties. I want more laundry on the field. That's
every
what
year,
I'm
man.
Dying
every year.
for.
Every year it's something. At least it's not. You can sack the quarterback, but don't put 84.1% of your weight on that guy, or it's a flag. At least it's not that. One of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
That's amazing. They should have some sort of. Is there something they can wrap around the quarterback that determines how much weight? That looked like it was 100% body weight, but actually we went back and reviewed the scale that's wrapped around the quarterback. It was only 65%. His leg was on the ground. Okay, wow. I am looking at the PFF quarterback grades for the Vikings last night.
Uh-huh.
We're going to get to those in a second here, but let's tell the audience how they can lose a bunch of weight for this football season, like Judd did for last year's football season.
That is exactly right. Down 40 pounds, thanks to my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. And right now, I'm going to compare myself because I feel like people are mishearing me. I'm going to compare myself to Kellen Mond because when I went in and visited my friends and I was 240 pounds, Livia told me flat out, you know what? We're going to help you get to where you want to go, but to reach your goal, to reach the guy that you're looking at, if you are watching on YouTube right now in that picture, you know what it's going to take? Time, patience, and development, Judd. And that is exactly what transpired. Time, patience, and development, a 40-pound loss, and guess what? Most importantly, keeping that weight off. So like Mond, you want him to continue to improve, but then you need to continue that improvement across the board, and that is exactly what you can achieve. Join the program now. It's the anniversary sale, 50% off. Call 855-GO-LIVEA or visit livea.com. LIVEA.com, 50% off right now as part of their anniversary sale.
Okay. Among quarterbacks, let me see here. Just want to make sure I'm getting this right. Among quarterbacks who have at least... It looks like at least 10 dropbacks in the first week or two of preseason here. There's been some teams have played a couple. Well, I guess the Hall of Fame game teams have played twice, right? Anyhow, Kellen Mond has the second highest grade of any quarterback that played in the first week of preseason, behind Josh Johnson from Denver. So he was given by Pro Football Focus an 84.8 grade off of that game last night. Here's what it said, all right? This is just full objectivity here from Pro Football Focus, who broke this game down. So he had a big-time throw percentage of 14%. Mm-hmm. He averaged 8.5 yards per attempt, which is very, very good with the 2 touchdowns. But most importantly, and this is the biggest differentiator between Sean Mannion and Kellen Mond. So Mond threw 14 passes. Mannion threw 12. Average depth of throw. So how far in the air did the ball travel? Mannion, 4.5 yards on average. Dude's been in the NFL. He's been in this system before. Yes. It's a freaking preseason game against backups, and he is still throwing the ball basically to the line of scrimmage or a couple yards beyond it. So 4.5 yards average depth of throw for Sean Mannion. Kellen Mond, 12.5 average depth of throw. Just to give you some context, I think over the course of a season, you're going to see that number sort of settle in between like 8 and 10 for good quarterbacks. If you get over 10, you are hucking it down the field on a regular basis. So, again, it wasn't perfect, but the ability to chunk the ball down the field, the willingness to make those throws. That's why Kevin O'Connell gave him the pat on the helmet. Hell yeah, dude, you're hunting down the field for big plays.
And Sean's like, oh no, just dink and dunk.
Yeah, dude, what are you doing, man?
Again, yes.
So I'm looking for a couple other nuggets here too. It's a small sample size. It's one game. It looks like 8 of his completions went for. Is that true? I just want to make sure this is accurate. That 8 of his 9 completions went for first downs. Yep. So again, chunking the ball down the field, big throws, a willingness to be aggressive and throw the ball into traffic in a couple spots or maybe some tight coverage. That one touchdown pass he threw, I mean, that was like thread a needle on the right side. He zings it in there.
Yes.
You know, those little in-breaking slants. He made a lot of those in college. So all I'm saying here is let's give this dude a chance here for a couple weeks and see. And if we need to pull the plug and go trade for another quarterback, the Judd plan, there's still time for that. But I want to see what Mond looks like against San Francisco and then in the second preseason game.
That's very fair. And then you will go get a backup quarterback.
QB2.
QB2. Again, the most important thing is to continue this development. That's my thing. This program this team, franchise, has ruined enough QBs that I actually think that the nicest thing here now is you've got a chance to truly develop guys and at least find out. But I know this. The Mannion thing, I do not need to see him take another snap. I can't. Like, there's nothing there. And that depth of throw is so on point.
Here's another one on the on the depth of throw.
Yep.
So this is all the quarterbacks who played. So 61 looks like 63 quarterbacks. They actually haven't loaded in the overall stats. They haven't loaded in the guys from last night yet. But of all the 60-plus quarterbacks who played in the first week of preseason, Mannion was bottom 6 in average depth of throw. Mond was 3rd.
Nice.
So I mean that right there, and again, like you gotta make throws, and he did, and you gotta complete the passes. But the willingness to do it is the biggest thing. Mitch Trubisky was the most aggressive, small sample size. He only threw 7 passes, but old Mitch Trubisky and Kellen Mond, just a couple of gunslingers with some mobility.
Mitch Trubisky, proving them all wrong, baby. Now in Pittsburgh.
Amazing. So all right, that's the wrap on the first preseason game. We'll have some. There's plenty more where that came from. They don't practice today, but we'll have more for you tomorrow. Just sort of 48 hours later, observations and thoughts. Some interesting things for what are people saying about the Vikings we can get into throughout the week. And don't forget, we have 2 new spin-off podcasts within the Purple Daily Network and umbrella. Realistic Randy Rants with Declan and Before We Die with Jesse and Thor. I know Thor was putting his scouting hat on last night watching that game, so check those out on the Purple Daily podcast feed and also on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. And thanks to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company as well for powering these takes on a regular basis. Federated can help power your business with risk management tools and resources, much like having a great offensive line protecting your business. You can find a full list of industries Federated protects at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, guys, we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Got to put that work in the preseason.